Andrew Georgitsis here from SoCal Realty and Investments. Well, in today's show, one of the things that I wanted to cover, all right, was some of the VA loan myths. And the reason why I bring this up is because I just got a text just a few hours ago from a person who's like, "Hey, what does my credit score have to be?" And I was like, "Oh, there's so many misconceptions about VA loans." So I thought, why not do today's show about some myths? And I don't know, let's just call them the 7 myths of VA loans. Okay. But there's a lot of information when it comes to VA loan. And if you don't know what a VA loan is, what some of the benefits are, myths, and so forth, you can always go to our website at socalrealtyandinvestments.com, and I have a whole page dedicated to VA loans, and there's a lot of detail. But besides that, I've also hooked up with the number one, I mean, the absolute expert when it comes to VA loans here in San Diego. All right. That does literally thousands of loans. And the point I'm trying to make is that when you hook up with the expert, and we can hook up together with the loan expert, you can really cover all those little finer details. There's little things like, oh, if I'm the surviving spouse and I'm getting a divorce, can I assume the loan from my ex-husband? And the answer is yes, but it's an intricacy which we have to explain. But I thought in today's show, what I'd do is I'd kind of give you guys just a broad sort of the 7 biggest myths I hear of. And of course, again, you can always email me, chat me, anything you want, Facebook me. I mean, I'm all over the place. You can get a hold of me. But yeah, they go. Here goes. Let's start with the most important one. Okay, because I get this all the time. Do I need to have a 650 credit score? And their answer is no. VA loans do not specify credit score at all. The VA does not, I'm going to repeat it, the VA does not require any credit score at all. Okay. The VA simply backs or guarantees loans. That's it. Okay. The lender is the one who wants a specific credit score. It's an overlay over the VA requirements. Okay. So the VA doesn't say you have to have a 650. Nothing of the sort. So if you're working with a lender and they say, well, the VA says you have to have 620. No, they don't. The lender says you have to have 620. The VA does not require any score. In fact, our guy, I've seen him get people approved at 560, just to give you an idea with their VA benefits. So to give you an idea, it can be anywhere. And that's why you have to work with your lender and if your lender's not giving you the results you want, I have one, but let's work with another one to get you the results. The point is, no, your credit score does not matter to the VA. It matters to the lender, yes, not to the VA. Another one I hear all the time is only combat veterans qualify. This is so not true. All right. There are so many different people that qualify. Active duty service member, of course, veterans, surviving spouses of veterans, okay, um, National Guard members, you know, um, midshipsmen, officers at the National Association of Atmospheric Association. So, in other words, NOAA people. Okay. Officers in the US Public Health Service. So, in other words, there's a wide variety of service members. That's what we call service members who qualify. You do not have to be a combat veteran. And of course, within that, there's lots of little rules. You have to be 90 days in wartime or, 180 days in non war times. And we can go on and on and on. But at the end of the day, okay, right? You do not have to be a combat veteran. You can be serving, current active duty service member. You can be a surviving spouse of a veteran. You can be, officers in different, service or industries. So there's quite a lot of people. Now, on our website, we have a link to where you can fill out the form to see if you qualify, all right, as a service, as a VA loan beneficiary. All right. So that's the best place to go, to our website, um, SoCal Realty and Investments. And there you'll find on the VA loan page, you'll see right here, qualify me, and you go to that document and you can get qualified right away. It's a pretty easy process, actually. Another sort of big one that I see is, You can only use your benefit once. It's just not true. You can obviously, this was designed for, service members, active duty veterans that move around the country and are deployed here, stationed there, so forth. What is sort of a little nuance here is, believe it or not, and later we'll get into this, but believe it or not, there is no maximum benefit. So you can take a $5 million loan as long as you can qualify. The VA will back a $5 million loan for you. So there's no maximum, okay, for your first time. So your first swipe there, the first time you basically go get your loan, there's no maximum. Now, of course, if you've got one here in San Diego and you want to go buy one in Texas, of course you can. You can use it a second time to go buy one in Texas, whatever. But now you fall into those limits. And those limits, for example, for very high, expensive counties such as San Diego County, the limit is a mil 77. But for your everyday county, such as Riverside, around this area, to give you an example, you are at 866 500. I don't know where they came up with the 500, but they did. So, so those are your differences. So your second time or third time or fourth time, your total benefit is only allowed to be that max. So you can get 10 loans as long as, of course, you meet the requirements, you have the income, you're able to, blah, 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 the lender, and you intend to live in it. So you can use it over and over and over and over and over again, as long as your total benefit amount doesn't exceed a mil 77 in high income, in high cost, and 866 in normal. Okay. But your first time, the very first, you've never used benefits before, and you want to go buy a $5 million home, and you can qualify, but both, debt income ratio, credit score, and your income, boom, they will give you a $5 million loan backed by the VA. It's amazing. Amazing. Okay. Another one's really cool is people say, well, there's a lot of surprise and hidden costs. VA loans themselves have zero surprise or hidden costs. None. The lender might be slipping in some weird fee, like a loan origination fee. Okay. That's them being sly. That's them being cunning. That's them screwing you. All right. There should be no loan origination fee. It's a lender fee, and that'll count against you. So the lenders I work with, I don't allow that. I will not work with a lender who has a 1% uh, loan origination fee. I'd rather save that 1% for you, so that you can use that towards what the VA calls non-supported expenses, or expenses that they won't pay for, non-paid for expenses. All right. And there's a lot of expenses that they do pay for. One of them is the buyer compensation fee. So, they'll pay for my uh, um, commission in the loan. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that they will pay for, and there's some things they won't pay for, but we can use that 1% to pay for them. And that's again getting to increases. But the point is, there are no hidden or surprise fees. Okay. Another one I hear that's actually quite funny is I've heard people go, oh, but if I get a VA loan, there's additional interest. It's going to be, more than conventional loans. No. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. All right. Because the way that the interest rate works that you get is based on risk. That's it, risk. And if the VA is willing to back you as a veteran with a 25% guarantee, so you want to buy a $500,000 home, they'll guarantee to the lender 100,000, no questions asked, if something goes south. Well, that's a lot of less risk. Okay, you become a lot more attractive to them, so they'll give you a lot better rate. I've seen rates as well as high as 1% lower than the conventional rate, because they're VA backed. And so the lender simply goes, wow, okay, if something goes wrong with that $500,000 loan, lose a job, blah, 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 I get 100,000 from the government right away. I can definitely sell this house for 400,000 without questions, 100,000 under market value, and recoup my money. Whereas if they weren't VA backed, they'd have to sell the $500,000 house for $500,000, and they'd be like, I still got to pay commissions and da 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 da, and so they lose money. And investors don't like losing money. I'm just telling you right now, right? Lenders do not like losing money. All right. Another one is, it takes much longer, 45 to 60 days. No, it doesn't. They're actually approved just as fast as any other loan. In fact, my lender will get you will get you qualified, certified, and you can close in 21 days. Same time as a regular, conventional loan. So no, it does not take longer at all. That's a big myth. Another one is, oh, if I'm stationed overseas, I can't get one. I can't get a loan because of the occupation requirement. No, not at all. Your spouse or your family can occupy that home for you in lieu of you being stationed overseas or something like that. So that's absolutely false. True that you do have to use it as a primary residence. Now, a lot of people will be like, oh, okay, so if I'm overseas, how do I occupy? And that's the point. Okay, you have 60 days for your spouse or for your family to move in. Now, you can't rent it and make money from it from your spouse or from your family, like your brother. That's not allowed. But of course, you can move your family in. Now, check this out. A lot of people say, oh, wait a second, here's the bonus, Smith. I can't. So what you're saying is I can't do an investment with my VA benefits. Absolutely, you can. Okay, I can show you how. Now it's not for this video. This video is meant just around these ones I was just telling you, very basics. But yes, all right, you can take advantage of that golden triangle. I call it the golden triangle. Why? Because VA loans are zero down at the top, zero down. Can you imagine that? Zero down. You don't need any down payment. And not only that, I can show you how there's zero cost, nothing out of your pocket, not a dime. All those expenses are covered. Wow, that's a benefit. All right. Of course, as I just said, the other part of that triangle, not only zero down, but below market rates. That's nice low interest rates below market rates. Okay, that's a lot of savings. Like 1% below I've seen. Can you imagine that, saving 1% on $1 million home? That's a massive amount of dollars every month back in your pocket. And then, of course, there's this other one that's really sort of the hidden cost in conventional loans, is that you've got a PMI, a mortgage insurance. There's no mortgage insurance in VA loans. The government's is doing that insurance for you. That's essentially what they're insuring. That 25% is the same as the PMI for, if you put 20% down or less, then you have a PMI insurance. And that PMI insurance can be anywhere from 0.5 all the way to 1.75% of the loan. So if you take $1 million loan, that's a pretty high number that you're paying insurance. With a VA loan, you don't have to pay that. So that's the golden triangle. Then, of course, in the middle of that triangle, I always love this, is that there's no max. I just still, whoa, that's just still one of those where you kind of go, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. $5 million loan, boom, backed by VA. Amazing. Okay. Yes, it'll soak up all of your one, 1,077,000 benefit, but so what? And they'll go up to, well, there's no max, but okay, you get my point. All right. And then the other one the one that's really attractive that I love is, of course, that it's assumable. Now, of course, that's for the sellers, because when it comes time to sell, that's a huge positive. Let's say that you have an interest rate of 2.65 and you're VA and you want to sell your home. Well, somebody can assume that. And here's the best part: they don't have to be VA. What? What do you mean they don't have to be VA? No, they can be an investor. They don't have to occupy. That they can be that they can they can just assume the loan as long as they can qualify under normal qualification regulations. They can assume your loan. Now, true, you have to give up that benefit of your VA benefits, but only the portion of the loan. So let's say you've got a place and your loan is 200,000. You only have to give up 200,000 of your 1,077,000 benefit. So you still get to keep the other 877. It's not like you lose all of your benefits. You're just going to lose that portion, that you know, 200,000 is locked up in that loan. And of course, if they refi or sell it to another veteran or whatever, of course you get your benefit back then. But for the time that they're holding that property, that loan that you've sold, they keep that benefit. I agree. But it's not going to be all of your benefit. All right. It's going to be a portion of your benefit. But anyways, And of course, if it's assumable and you're selling it to another VA, you can do a swap. So then they use their benefit, you get all your benefit back. Just I want to throw that really in real quick so that you weren't confused about that. Anyways, look, this is a huge subject. Okay. And in fact, I run seminars, right? Where I'll get 20 people in a room and we'll spend 2, 3 hours with my loan people, and we will actually present all the little nuances. And it can be quite a fun evening, but at the end of the day, basically you're going to learn a lot about loan VA loans. I can't give it all in this little video blog, but at the end of the day, I hope this was helpful. If you got any questions, click the link below, go to my website, SoCal Realty and Investments.com. Email me at info at SoCal Realty and Investments.com. Call me on my phone numbers down below. Smoke signals, I don't care. I will help you understand a little bit more about, VA loans, what it takes, what some of the myths are. And, obviously, we'll conference in our loan specialist to really dig down into the bolts as needed. Anyways, look, here's my take for the day. You guys earned it. You should use it. They're amazing benefits. And that's really, what I'm here to do and here to help you. And as always, hope you have a great day and hope to hear from you soon. Take care.